Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
But
Right.
anyway, this is a 1-2 game.
Okay.
It's a $500 max buy-in,
Yep.
and the effective stacks are about 500. And this is a round of no limit.
Okay.
Early position player opens to 8.
Yep.
Not a professional.
Okay.
The next to act calls, and then I am in middle position with Queen of clubs, Queen of spades, and I 3-bet to $40.
Okay. So open to 8, call, and now you're basically making it about 5x. Okay. I mean, you guys are. The interesting thing here is that I would say it's a little bit on the large side because similar to no limit, like, yeah, you're 1, 2, 500 effective. People are like, oh, it's 250 big blinds. Well, you're looking at a 4x open. I might tend to make it maybe like 40, but okay. Oh, you did make it 40. Why did I think that you?
I did make it
Yeah,
40,
yeah,
yeah.
40. Okay. All right, yeah, 40. Sorry.
And so yeah, it plays more like a live game in terms of sizing, which is one thing I like about this site.
Yeah.
It's much more like a live softness instead of online smaller sizing, so the pots do get a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But anyway, the preflop raiser, the original preflop raiser,
Yeah.
calls, and the in-between caller folds. So it's heads up to the flop, and the flop is Jack 9-5, all spades, and I do have the Queen of spades.
Okay, so under the gun, we'll call him ish, early position, raised to 8, +1 calls, hero MP1 with 2 black queens, 3 bets to 40. Under the gun calls, and the guy in the middle folds. So the pot's like maybe $90, something like that, right?
Yep,
All
give
right.
or take.
Yeah. And then the flop comes out Jack 9-5, all spades. And you've got queens with the queen of spades. This is kind of interesting here. One of these spots where if you get checked, I mean, if it's going to get checked to you, which normally it will in a 3-bet pot, you could probably sometimes bet, sometimes check. Queens, because it's a little bit. I mean, the thing with having queens with the spade in it, you don't need a ton of protection because even if you let an ace or a king roll off, it's going to be a non-spade if the guy doesn't have a spade. But, if you've got aces or kings with a spade in it, sometimes those hands can sort of be checked back, whereas the non-spade ones can be bet. Or you can just take a really small sizing just because you think you're going to get called by everything. Now, from you emailing in, I remember that didn't happen though, right? You didn't get checked too, right?
Exactly, and that's where the confusing part happens, because I agree. I would probably bet really small if it was checked to me. And if I did have like aces with the ace of spades, I might choose that as a check for a little bit of balance. But he actually donks into me for 2/3 pot.
So under the gun, bets 2/3, right?
53, yeah.
Okay. I mean, seems
So
like
I have it as he bets 53 into 89.
right. Okay. Well, I mean, let me just put it this way: like as an extreme, let's say, for example, he moved all in on the flop for like 400, and he actually even has more than that, 400 into like say 100, right? It's still really difficult to fold because usually like that's not going to be a flop flush. That's going to be more of like a 2-pair type of hand or just the ace of spades. Like if you were to run, I know he didn't do that, but I mean, I'm just sort of visualizing if you were to run a range of like some ace of spades, some like Jack 9 suited, never really flop flushes, and some sets, because you have an overpair with a spade in it, you're probably like high 30s. I mean, I wouldn't think twice about calling if someone just open shipped 400 into 100 here with queens with the queen of spades, right? Now, if you didn't have the queen of spades, that's different, right? But that's
I just don't see what he's incentivized to lead out in a 3-bet pot with anything. So I'm just not used to this type of play.
Sure, no, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that you don't necessarily know the player pool. Would you agree with me that if you got shoved on the flop for like 4x, you would call? most likely. Yeah.
Probably yes.
Yeah. Okay. So under the gun bet's 53 and hero calls, I take it.
Yeah, I do call.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then the turn is a 10 of hearts. So the pot is about 194 minus
Okay.
the rake.
Okay.
Turn is a 10 of hearts, and then the villain continues betting just over half pot. He bets about $101 into 194. And my thinking at the time, a lot of players in this type of player pool do like to call with, eights through jacks types of hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I do put him, I do have him connecting with this board, but I'm not exactly sure what that means. Plus, I have a lot of equity against anything.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, the 10 here is probably not the best card. I'm just kind of going to think through some things like that might, in my history, that I've seen like with lead outs, right? The 10 might not necessarily be the absolute best card for you. There's sometimes you might see like some representation of like pocket 10s with this 10 of spades being bet out. If you didn't have the queen of spades, you might even see some representation of like king queen being bet out with a spade in it or something. I mean, just it's not as good as a blank deuce. But I mean, I'm not folding. I mean, it looks like the math is that when he bets 101 into 194, when you call, the pot's going to be like 395 and you guys are going to have like 300 left, right? Like, because you've put in, you started with about 500. I mean, I don't think there's anything really to do here but call. Obviously, now you're open-ended as well, so you've picked up even more equity against like hands like two pair and sets, right?
Yeah, so I thought calling was my go-to standard play.
Sure.
I was wondering also if there's any merit to just jamming right here.
I don't know if there's merit to jamming, because the merit to jamming is that so what's the purpose of a raise or a bet?
I mean, does he have a naked ace of spades?
Right,
and
so
now he's going to have to call off with something like that.
Well, I'm sure I can tell that you'll know the answer to this question, caller. But what's the two reasons to bet or raise for the most part?
To deny equity and to get value.
I wasn't really talking about denying equity. That's the third reason. Okay, to get value is one. What's the other one? The primary reason.
To get a better hand to fold.
Right, yeah, that's a bluff, right? It's value or a bluff.
Yeah,
usually was what we think. The two easiest ones.
Yeah, denial, a spectrum of somewhere around there.
Right, denial of equity is the third one. But so whenever you're in a situation where you're in this spot and you're sort of in between, then you don't want to make that aggressive action, whether it's through a large bet size, a raise. Now, if you want to tell me that you think the purpose of raising all in here would be to get like the naked ace of spades to call, like maybe you had history with a player and he was a maniac and you just know he was going to call with any high spade and you didn't want to lose out on the value now, because if you just called and the river was a brick, you lose. Like, he doesn't bluff and he would have called the turn, then sure, raising would be fine. On the surface, though, I think your hand is sort of in between, in the sense that I don't think you're going to get a better hand to fold. Like, I don't think two pair is going to fold if it takes this line in the 3-bet pot. It's not like you're going to get jack 9 to fold. And are you going to get weaker to call? I mean, you'd have to really go down the line here with what sort of ace of spades types of hands would he have in this spot. You've got the queen of spades and the queen of clubs, so obviously you're blocking some ace queens. I mean, it's possible. Ace king, ace king offsuit with the ace of spades that picks up a gut shot now on the turn. Ace jack offsuit. I mean, those things are possible. I just think it's more of a standard call. I think actually what's funny is like with one card to come, I mean, I don't have Poker Cruncher up, but if you're up against like jack 9 here, you might have like as much as 35-40% equity with one card to come, right? You're open-ended with a spade, and then those two pair types of hands could get counterfeit too. So you call.
Now, is there any merit to raising, because I'll be unclear of what to do on the river, and I might make a bad fold on the river or anything like that?
Well, I mean, this is old school. Some people are saying in the live chat there's also volume betting. Yeah, there's certainly volume betting, but that wouldn't come into place here. So we talked about betting or raising for value, right? Betting or raising for bluff. The caller said equity protection too. And then volume betting, which is basically betting your range in certain situations, which are usually tight configurations, but there's no volume raising, right? Like,
Yeah,
and it's fine. That doesn't come into play here. Now, to go to your question about whether or not you sort of sometimes get scared off the best hand, I don't know if that's going to really apply here because, I mean, you mean if a spade were to come and he moved all in, would you fold? Would you think about
or if
folding?
just if it's an offsuit deuce or yeah, I guess I do have a lot of clear options. Or if it's an offsuit king.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it's an
Or an
offsuit king, you make a
ace.
straight, right?
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or offsuit ace.
offsuit ace. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think that it's not just calling because you're way ahead, way behind, but also too, it sort of gives you a look at the river, right? Like, the definition of a dynamic board would be this one. Like, things are going to change at the end. All those examples that you gave, an offsuit deuce is definitely different than the eight of spades, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, there are huge differences. So anyways, the pot looks like it's right around 395. So you call, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's go to
So
the river.
I call, and the river, I remembered it being a relative blank. I sent you the wrong river card the first time. It was an offsuit deuce, but the actual river was the board pairing 5, which is a little bit different of a brick, but still kind of a brick.
That is different than a brick, yeah, for sure. So the guy's got about 300 left, right?
Yep.
Okay, and what does he do?
And he jams.
So UTG jams here. For 300. I got to be honest with you. Now that the board pairs, which obviously cuts out his combinations of sets of fives by 2/3 now, right? We go down to 3 sets of fives, down to 1 combo, right, of quads. And now that Jack 9 is now counterfeit, I'm going to look at this from a live perspective because I think this is it's kind of similar, right? You're playing like on an unknown site. Somebody in the live chat said that this was a site around the Madison, Wisconsin area. I don't know anything about it, but
it is.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's been around a little bit longer, but it's mostly Wisconsin players.
Okay, so look at it like a live game, right? Because it's like probably going to be mostly live players that can't play, and I've certainly seen a representation of people not knowing what to do occasionally with a hand like Jack 9, which is now counterfeit. And then, like, when of course they make a nonsensical bet here at the end, and then when you call the guy, he's like, "Oh, you're good, right, Jack 9." So when you take into account that some of the value here has been cut down, and that you beat a counterfeit Jack 9, and that you block flop flushes, and that you block straights on a 5, I think I'm calling. If you had said it was an offsuit deuce, and the guy jammed on you, I think it's different. I think it's much, much closer. I think that I could make a case for folding on an offsuit deuce, but when a 5 comes, I think that's one of the best cards in the deck for you, to be honest with you. Right? Because a Jack or a 9 can get kind of hairy because they would just shove anyways if they had the Jack 9, right? But I think on a 5, I think that I think I'm probably going to call here. I mean, it's definitely non-standard to see somebody lead out like this, obviously like in a 3-bet pot. What did you end up doing?
I did end up folding, but it was a very tough spot for me.
So hero folds. Okay.
I did fold, but the triple lead out on how the board evolved, just I couldn't really find many bluffs, so I did decide to fold. Even though the player is aggressive, it's just the line was so unique.
Yeah.
And he did end up showing 9-9.
So he flopped the set. House. Okay. So V1 has.
So I guess that kind of makes sense, but it's just never a line that I take with a set there. I'm going to lead out. I might check raise or check call, but that was the tricky part.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people just naturally check to the pre-flop raiser, right, in a 3-bet pot. I mean, how often are you leading into the 3-bet into a 3-better on any board when your head's up?
Pretty much never.
Right. Which is fine. I think that that's fine because I just think that it kind of simplifies the strategy, basically. When I used to lead out into preflop razors, and I don't even remember if I did it in 3-bet pots, but occasionally I might. Back in the day, like 2005 to 2007, I would say, sometimes you would actually win more money by leading out into the preflop razor because the preflop razor would raise you and you could just 3-bet the flop and get it in. And you say, well, what about check raising the flop? You would actually guarantee yourself more money by fast playing. I'm serious. And it would be the same thing if you flop trips or flop the set in any way. But I don't know if I would do that in the 3-better. I think it would be more in a single raise pot. I would guarantee myself the money by leading into the preflop razor and bet 3-betting like a set or 2-player or any hand that beat 1 pair, basically. It was just the way to get the most amount of money in live play in. But in a 3-bet pot here, I think what you do is fine. I think a lot of people in live chat sort of echoing what I'm saying, that, and one guy I think makes a good point here. Any card that basically decreases the villain's value range has to be a call. That's a good comment, Timothy Wynn. What about Deuce X here, though, guys? I think that this is definitely a call for me, but I think Deuce X is a little bit dicier. And the reason why Deuce X is a little bit dicier here, what's your name, caller?
Danny,
I think the reason why Deuce X here, this is something that a lot of people will actually miss out with intricate hand reading, is that if the river's Deuce X instead of 5 of clubs, then you have to obviously put your opponent on a hand that you beat, right? And the primary bluff that people might think of in a spot like this, in a 3-bet pot with a UTG opening and then a defend, right, to your 3-bet, would be like ace X, right? Ace of spades, right? Oh, he's got ace of spades. But what hands are opened and then defended to 3-bets from up front that's an offsuit ace X?
Not many.
Well, I mean, let's name them.
Ace 10 of spades, ace queen of spades I block.
I'm not talking about flop flushes. I'm talking about the hands that miss. If the river was a deuce, and we're saying
so the prime spades offsuit,
right, and the primary,
you're not going to have any of those.
Well, I mean, it would be ace king, right, with the ace of spades.
Okay.
Ace queen with the ace of spades, right? Those are the ones, the stiff ones that are missed, and then all the other hands are paired. First of all, he's not supposed to really be calling with those hands, but okay, like ace jack with the ace of spades, ace 10. The point that I'm making here is that, and we're not going to go down to ace 8 off. They look at this spot and they don't realize that people aren't going to have that many offsuit aces here to have enough bluffs, like with the ace of spades. And also, too, of course, you block some of the ace queens. Also,
and he's going to 4-bet ace king sometimes.
He's going to 4-bet ace king sometimes. And is he going to play ace king in a way that he's just basically blasting it as a bluff? Like a lot of people see some showdown value with ace king. Would it be played this way, right? So when that river comes offsuit deuce, I think I might fold. I think I call here, but I fold on a deuce. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.